Hey everyone, so we are going to be braising some beef. So we're going to show you the recipe for that, and we're going to be slow cooking it in our van in the Wonderbox. This is actually a Gordon Ramsay recipe we found on YouTube one time. It's not exactly to the letter, but it's pretty close to how we prepare it. So this is our short rib that we're going to be using. You can also use pretty much any cut of beef, really. It doesn't have to be expensive. It cooks down and gets nice and tender. So we use short rib, but like I said, you can use lots of cuts of beef that work well for slow cooking. The first thing you want to do is season your beef, salt and pepper nice and liberally, and then after that we're going to brown them. So I'm gonna get the Dutch oven nice and hot, then I'm gonna add the fat, and then we can get them nice and browned before slow cooking. Gordon Ramsay calls for a glug of oil, but we forgot our oil, so we're going to be adding some knobs of butter. And I also added a bit of coconut oil so that the butter doesn't burn too bad, or helps reduce it from burning. Okay, so our short ribs are nice and brown, so you can keep them in the pan, but I'm going to take them out for the next steps of the recipe. So the next step is to add garlic. Now Gordon Ramsay just takes a head of garlic, cuts it in half, slides it along the bottom of the pan. I don't do that. I just cut my garlic cloves in half and throw them in. The next step is to cook out your tomato puree or your tomato paste, and it's about a heaping tablespoon of tomato paste. I just kind of eyeball it. So you cook out your tomato paste for a couple of minutes. And then what we do is we add wine, and then we let that reduce down by half. And then we throw our beef back in, add some stock. It doesn't really matter what kind of stock. You can use chicken or beef or vegetable even if you want. We usually go with beef stock. So you would normally put that into the oven and let that cook for a couple of hours, but because we're using our Wonderbox, what we're going to do is keep it on high heat for 20 minutes, and then we're going to cover it, put it in the box, and then just let it sit for about 5 hours. So for the red wine that you use, again, you don't have to go expensive. It's really just for flavor. Okay, so because we're making this in a smaller pot size, we took our meat out just so we can get the puree to cook out nice, along with the garlic, but I'm going to add it back in now so it can cook with the wine for a bit while the wine is reducing. And depending on the size of your pot is basically how much wine you want to use. So I'm just going to add a bit more. That should be good. And then you want to bring this up higher heat so that it comes to a boil and reduces. Our wine has reduced, so now it's time to add the broth. You can use liquid broth if you want. We usually just use these cubes because when we go to the mountains, this is a lot easier to pack up than a bunch of liquid broth. So this is lighter, so we're just going to use the same thing for this. So the original recipe calls for enough broth to basically almost cover the beef, but because we're doing this with residual heat, it's not going to cook the same. So I'm not going to add as much broth as what the recipe recommends. But we are going to bring this back to a boil, get it nice and hot, then we're going to cover it up and throw it in our Wonderbox. Now it's time to put our braised beef into the Wonderbox. So do it carefully, because there is hot liquid inside. And you can just nestle it in. Make sure everything's nice and sealed. Throw your top on, and then we're gonna seal it up with a ratchet strap. Alright, so here it is all bundled up. Instead of a ratchet strap, we actually switched our mind and used some bungee cords. This worked a little bit better. So now all we have to do is let time do its job. We'll probably check it in about 4 or 5 hours and it should be good to go. Welcome back, everybody. So we spent the day kind of exploring. We are now close to Drumheller, Alberta. We did some driving through some small towns, seeing what they had to offer. It was kind of fun and interesting. But it's been now 4 hours since we put our beef into our Wonderbox. So it should be ready to go by now. So what we're going to do is finish preparing the rest of the food. We're going to be sauteing some kale with onions and then cooking up some bacon and mushrooms, and that's going to go on top of the beef as like a garnish. It's really good. So we're going to get to that, and we're going to also be making this with some instant potatoes. Again, it's just an easy way to do it when you're on the road. So we're going to be cooking that up. That'll take like less than 5 minutes, and then we'll eat the delicious meal. The secret to cooking bacon, no matter what kind you have, is low and slow. You can still get it nice and crispy like that, just don't rush the cooking process because you'll get a better result that way. Our bacon is nice and cooked and crispy, so I'm going to pull this off the fire, and then I'm going to add the mushrooms and cook them down. I'm just going to add the mushrooms right to the bacon fat. Not necessarily the most healthy, but it's delicious. Alright, so my mushrooms are nice and golden, so I'm going to pull those out and put them beside the bacon on the plate. But I'm not done with the bacon fat yet, because I'm going to be sauteing my kale and onions in them next. Now that my onions are just starting to caramelize, I'm going to keep them in there, but then I'm going to add the kale to that.
Okay, time to open our short rib. The first time it's been opened since we put it away. And it's still good and hot. And the temperature looks good. We will bring it to a quick boil just so we can thicken up the sauce a little bit more, and it's ready to serve.